It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC.
Let's go to our senator from Kansas, Rita.
Absolutely. We have the great Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas. And Senator Roger Marshall, first of all, we're talking about all of this lawfare clearly against President Trump, Jim Jordan doing the subpoenas. And here it is, the flip-flopping. We don't even know what his challenger stands for yet. I mean, there's so much flip-flopping.
You know, I hate to break up a good conversation. You guys are getting pretty wound up about this one. But listen, this is another chapter of election interference, isn't it? This late in the game, for this to come out of the blue, and you all, it is so complicated. You couldn't make this stuff up and put it on a movie and have people follow the plot. But I think this is the next chapter of election interference. We've been fighting back against Google, who was censoring the assassination attempt story of President Trump. They tried for weeks to keep people from going to that particular site to see that. So this is just one more chapter of election interference as far as I'm concerned.
It goes worse than that. Tony Carbonetti, who was chief of staff to Mayor Rudy Giuliani today, his best friend was down at the jury in New York City, Senator.
Listen to this story, Senator.
He was down at the jury in New York City. So the jury commander comes in and says, how many of you don't speak English? 8 people raised their hand. There was about 60 people in the room. So he says, okay, you can leave. Then he says, how many of you are not American citizens? 12 people raised their hands, and you could leave. How can people don't speak English at all, and 12 people are not citizens, serve on the jury or be called for jury duty, but they take the people that serve jury duty comes from the voting rolls.
Correct.
Bingo. So think about this. So New York City, San Francisco, Washington, D.C. allow anybody to vote in local elections, right? So there has to be some type of voter roll. Is there 2 voter rolls, one for local elections and another voter roll for federal elections?
No.
Which is my point. It's too complicated. It's wrought with fraud. It doesn't pass the smell test, does it?
Yeah, no, and listen, it's been happening in a lot of these states, and then a lot of these civil liberties groups are saying, no, it's not fair. Yeah. But in a close election, we got to watch everything. I mean, there's no question. Senator, also, in the middle of all this, and there's so many flip-floppings of Kamala Harris, but I want to get to the numbers, too. This was astounding to me. 818,000. Whoops, a little revision. We added those jobs. Now they got to take them away. How can we trust anything coming out of this White House? That's an enormous amount. It's almost 1 million jobs that were, quote, inflated.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. This is another reason why Americans don't trust the government. I've just finished 40 or 50 roundtables the last 2 weeks across the state of Kansas, and every one of them, several people bring up this, we don't trust the government, whether it's the FBI, the Secret Service, the lawfare you're describing. And here's another example. So why is this so important? They missed the mark by 30%. Again, I think this is election interference. They're falsifying, trying to prop up the Biden-Harris economy, which is really, really soft. They said they had 3 million new jobs. It was only 2 million. They missed it by 30%.
They're lying. They're lying to the American people.
That's it.
Now, there's one more problem, Senator, and we're going to be talking about it in the next segment, but I want you to know about it because you deserve to know about it. The fact that
Nancy, are you about Nancy Pelosi, or what are you referring to, John?
No, the other thing. Hold on. Okay. Well, Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, that's a whole other one, too.
She admitted in the second tape, in her voice, that she screwed up in not bringing
National Guard on
in.
January 6th.
Now, in her voice, she said, I screwed up. And my question is, was she lied to? And who lied to her when they said we don't need it?
Well, I don't think I had the answer to that, but certainly there were senators in the room that heard President Trump request those troops. And eventually we all knew it had to get to Nancy Pelosi to deny them. So she's been complicit in the whole thing from day one. Why was she never asked to appear? If you had to have a true investigation, she absolutely should have been asked to appear in front of the investigation committee. And I'm afraid we'll never know. I'm so frustrated, but Senator, nevertheless, yes.
It's Tony Carbonetti. The Capitol Police answered to her when she was Speaker.
Yes.
Pre-incident, there should have been a report issued by the Capitol Police saying we're anticipating a rally at the Capitol. Here's how many people we're anticipating. Here's what we've learned on social media, and here's how we're policing it. And that gets presented to either the Speaker or her Chief of Staff and gets signed off on. That's standard protocol. Where's that document?
I'm with you, and I was talking about that the week of this event. I was talking about the week of the event when I talked to senators one-on-one and said we were in the room when Trump called and asked for more National Guard troops. And the rest of the story is basically history after that. I don't know. There's more questions than answers. It's just so frustrating. I can't begin to try to give you a good answer on it. There's not a good answer, right?
No. Senator, what do we do? How do we get the truth to the American people?
Really, it starts with controlling the majority. So certainly now the House, the Republicans have been in the majority the last 2 years. I think they've had their hands full just trying to fund the government. I know it looks easy, but it is a circus over there when you have such a thin majority. And I think that you have to pick your battles. And here we are. We have an election here in 2 months, and I'm focused. I'm locked in on telling Kamala Harris's story that America has this choice. What type of economy does America want? Do we want a free market economy that rewards innovation, that rewards hard work, or do we want a socialistic economy where everybody gets a trophy and she sets the prices? You know, what type of values?
There's one more thing, forward? Senator. There's one more thing you might not have heard of. We heard yesterday that Kamala Harris and Waltz, the vice presidential candidate, is going to be on a live interview with ABC and Stephanopoulos and that whole crew. Now we find out this afternoon it's going to be pre-taped. So that means if they make a mistake, they can edit it.
And they're also together. I mean, that's the other thing. Senator, she wants to be commander in chief. And what she's afraid of doing an interview by herself, she has to have a running mate next to her, like a wet blanket.
Well, and a soft interview. Remember who's interviewing. You have Bash is doing the interview, and Bash has already said, she never was the czar for the border. So Bash has already taken that position. So how she can do a hard interview?
Senator?
Yes, and President Trump called this out last night. I hope everybody's following him on Truth Social. He called out all this last night, that he called on ABC to say, you have to, if you're not going to do it live, you need to make sure you release the entirety of the interview. This doesn't count. This is not a real interview. This is a softball interview. Like you said, this will be Laurel and Hardy is what this is going to look like with the two of them doing this interview. It won't be a real interview. This is their plan. The more people get to know Kamala Harris, the less they like her. So their job right now is to try to keep her under wraps. She can't help herself. She is a true blue socialist. She is a person that wants to set prices at the grocery store, which is going to lead to shortages and black markets. So they will do everything they can to hide her. It's that simple.
Boy, I wish I could have like 10 hours with her, because I would say, here's what you said. Here's now what you're saying. Which one is it? Because we don't know who she is.
I think in 10 minutes you'd slice her up.
Yeah,
she wouldn't last 10 hours.
I would say 10 seconds maybe. You know, I mean, give me a break. There are so many inconsistencies, and it's such a disservice to the American people. That's the thing, Senator. I mean, the American public has no idea what she stands for. Obviously doesn't have a moral compass. She's flipping and flopping like there's no tomorrow. Now, the other day, she's talking about the border wall. I mean, are you kidding me?
She's the queen of the border wall.
Right. Yeah, she's the tough one.
She's the tough one.
Right.
She's big on law and order, Senator. At the same time, she was bailing out all these criminals, the rioters, the BLM rioters, the Antifa rioters, and they got out. And what do? They committed violent crimes. Violence, arson, rape, attempted murders. This is serious stuff. That's the people she was bailing out.
Yeah, and Judge, don't forget that people were killed
That's
jury.
right.
Yeah, that's right. Several, right. A
And
number.
nobody's been held accountable.
No one's been held accountable. Just like Afghanistan, which she was the last person in the room.
Senator, you're from Kansas. That's an honest state. You guys believe in honesty and integrity. Keep fighting for America.
Hey, we will. But just remember, a zebra doesn't change its stripes. We do know who she is. And we just need to make sure that all of America knows it. So thank you, the three of you out here telling this truth. We're the modern day patriots. Everybody remember what President Trump said after he got shot. Fight, fight, fight. Let's do it.
God bless you.
Thank you,
God bless America.
Senator. We love having you on. Thank you.